means more energy, means more adventure. Pure oxygen, natural spring water infused with more oxygen to improve your energy, immunity and performance. The next generation of hydration. Pure oxygen, nature's ultimate water.
Welcome to the Barcast, the podcast. I am Salt. Today I'm joined by a special guest, a Barbarian. Mr. Philip Reckord is in the hot seat. Good day to you, Philip. How you doing, man?
Thanks, Salt. I'm just very honored to be here.
Yeah, good to have you here as well.
Happy to add my voice to the crowd of people who have obviously love bar.
Yeah, have you listened to the Barcast before? Don't be ashamed to say never.
I have listened when you have nice women on board.
Oh, so you listen to Janelle.
I listen to Janelle.
Right. And you are, for those of you who don't know, Phil Reckord is one of the staunch barbarians. He's there every session. He's there every practice. He's there for almost every event. We're always competing, right?
Trying my best. I am always I'm happy to be with the best, even if I'm a little bit behind.
Right. All right, so welcome to the Barcast podcast. I want to apologize earlier, Clark, guys, for wearing this cap sleeve. I really wanted to wear a bar shirt this year, but what happened is training so hard to get bigger, right?
This is the man Salt we're talking to here. I aspire to be Salt.
To hear myself, Philip Reckord. So how did you get into bar and obstacle racing?
Well, we're going to blame George.
We're going to blame
George because...
Blame is such a heavy word, though.
Well, no, I mean, I'm just telling you that this is such a big deal for me, right? It's something that I give George credit for because it is life-changing in that really positive way.
Is it a big deal for you? You mean being on the podcast or bar on the whole?
Well, I'm honored to be on the podcast, but I'm talking about bar.
I'm
talking about bar on the whole. I'm talking about the energy that came from bar. I'm talking about the fact that I went into bar, honestly, I'm going to be ridiculous, almost that childlike, hey, we're going to play with stuff. We're going to jump over. We're going to climb on it. We're going to carry stuff. I didn't even understand how much of a challenge it would really represent at first.
Right.
And then ultimately, the fact that I would literally wake up on a bar day, planning my whole day around bar. I got to be careful when I say this. I don't want my customers to know. But the point is that for me, it was a feeling of regret when I had to miss a bar session.
This is just the sessions you're talking about.
I'm talking about everything. No, you see, for me, bar is not just about the day.
It's not just big bar day. Just
no.
Any training session.
Trust me, bar was about, last year was an intense stretch that seemed to go on for quite a long time. But the truth is that I felt what Trinity's called tabanka when it was done.
Right.
And in fact, I was lucky. I'll talk about that another way. But point in ask for us. But the main point is that for me, bar started when George did, I believe it was just after the first bar when George did what you could call the Sunday walkthrough, because he invited people to come and see what bar was the day before.
Right.
Now,
so you went and saw
I went and ran it. Well, I mean, I tried to keep up with the guys who were running it.
Yeah.
But the point is that what really brought me into bar, meaning what made me do that, was the fact that the day before on bar day, I think it was a guy from Bassa Bassa. Sorry, that's your competition.
But that's not our competition. They compete as well.
Well, all I'm telling you is that it was one of their people, I think, that live streamed it on Instagram.
Right.
And I found myself going back into the live streams as they came, thick and fast, and the different things they were doing. Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't truly understand. I certainly didn't appreciate bar at that point. Mm-hmm. But that led me to say, well, when I heard that George was doing the walkthrough, I was a member of the gym, so I knew George well.
Oh, I was going to ask you if you knew George.
So I decided I really want to do this. Mm-hmm. And I beat it up to St. John. This is
on a whim, just because you saw
this was a Sunday afternoon. I literally was lying around the whole afternoon watching pieces of what was the last bits of that Bassa Bassa stream and thing.
Yeah.
And I just hopped in my car and through a mutual acquaintance of George and myself, got his number. I didn't have his number at the time.
Right.
And, said I want to come. And George was kind enough to wait because I was, St. John was not, 15 minutes away.
It's not, no.
Yeah, so I got there and we started and, I struggled to keep up with it wasn't a big crowd. It was like maybe 10 people at the most, maybe 8, 10 people. And I tried to keep up with I think I tried to keep up with Monica, who was kind enough to slow down so I could keep up with her.
Yeah, she would know the terrain. Right?
But the bottom line is that I followed the course, and
You saw the obstacles. And
saw the obstacles, climbed in and out of the trash bins, right?
You do all of that?
Could not climb over the containers, but looked at it longingly. And and it was, the ups and downs, the hills, and then, of course, the next couple of days of aching muscle that said to me, I have to try this.
But that sounds counterintuitive. The ups and downs, the hills, then the aching muscles. I mean, when you got to the aching muscles, I figured.
Just don't report me, but there's something wrong with me.
Is it right? There is something wrong with you?
Yeah. But yeah, I loved it.
You were always into fitness? You said you were a member of the gym before that.
I don't know. That's a weird question because on one hand, as a child, everybody's kind of active, I suppose. But the truth is that I played football as a child. I'm talking a young child. But by the time I hit university level, certainly a lot of part of high school and university level, I was not particularly active. And it was sometime in my 20s when I would start to realize I needed to do a little jogging and stuff like that.
Right.
But the truth is that it went for years. I'm talking about decades even before my 40s when I said, this has to change. And I started walking and then literally said, I actually had someone tell me one day I was walking along Belleville and somebody said, speed up, right?
You were strolling.
Strolling. A guy walks past me. He had seen me walking obviously more than once. And he says, speed up. And I was like, okay, let's speed up. And I got an app on my phone because I was listening to music. I wasn't exercising. Right. I was walking along listening to music. Yeah. And it maybe for 2 hours. Because I used to walk down to like Accra from where I live out by Pine Gardens.
From Pine Gardens to Accra.
So the point is that walking, strolling along, not really.
No, I went for a walk yesterday. I walked 4.6 kilometers and that took me 1 hour and 1 minute. So walking does not go very quickly.
When you're strolling. Yeah, but the point is that exercise for me was not something I really pushed myself at.
Right.
It really seemed like a little bit too much work to think that was before I joined it. Years before I joined the gym, but the point is that I joined Universal. Universal back in the day, but joined Surfside to become a real gym.
Right.
Gym buddy.
But you had, so you were walking, but that's you knew you needed to do some exercising and you needed to do some movement, but still you weren't challenging yourself.
No.
You were just walking and listening to music.
Listening to music, right? So when the app came in the picture, and to put this in perspective, I'm talking like about almost 10 years ago now, right?
Right. And we said app 10 years ago. That was not what app is now. This is techie fail coming up there.
No, but still, I was using Map My Walk or whatever it's called, Map My Run.
Yeah.
And, this would tell me X amount of time for X amount of distance. And I didn't realize maybe, but I was now becoming numbers motivated. So it would tell me you did this mile in, pick a number like 16 minutes.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I can do better than that. So I speeded up.
Right.
And then eventually I started running. And so it became walking and running. And,
competitiveness.
In myself.
Is it even a walk or a run if you don't have the statistics, though?
If the tree falls in the forest, whoa, Salt.
Yeah.
That's deep. But it took those events to get me to the point where when I did bar now, I had not even realized that I had made some progress without a doubt, of course, right? And there was a huge blip in that whole exercise, no pun intended, in that, like, my life changed pretty drastically back in 2015, if it's a whole other story there. Yeah. But the point is that it made me, meaning bar made me really up the game, right? Because now I'm not just doing it by myself. When I joined the gym, prior to doing bar, I had the benefit of people around me now that were trying to better themselves and doing it in ways that was scientifically more, a little bit more scientific than the way I was doing it before.
Right.
And the help of, let me shout out to somebody like Tamal Atwell, who has been my trainer.
Big yourself, Tamal.
Yeah, Tamal, excellent trainer to me. He's showed me the consideration of, what I couldn't do at first, but he knew that I could do if I pushed myself.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I can get from here to there, and this is what it takes. And he didn't tell me all this, of course, until he figured it was necessary. But the point is that he would say, do this, do this, do this. And it works.
Yeah, and it works for you.
Yeah. So working with Tamal at gym and then later with George, and let me say that George is definitely one of the best trainers. He's probably the best trainer I've ever worked with. Right? Because, he is even more so concerned about, what it takes to motivate people. Right?
Yeah. And
the bottom line is that when I got into bar, I had those influences along with the incredible group of people that I found myself around. Suddenly I'm surrounded by people who, I think I said earlier, the bar energy.
The energy. We talk about it all the time. And I want people that are not part of bar, they're not necessarily in the bar tribe or in the bar community, to understand that this is not another clique or nothing. It's everybody. It's so encouraging, so welcoming. Wanted to see everybody do better. I wanted to see bar become bigger and better.
Yeah. Let me tell you, people, this man, Patrick Salt Bellamy, you meet him in a bar situation. I don't know what he's like in every other situation, but I can tell you right there is a gentleman who knows about encouraging people, right?
Yeah, you're gonna encourage you.
Salt has been one of many people in that community, the bar tribe, that was always there telling you, try a little this, do a little that. I'm not telling you, you can do it. It was like, maybe if you did this, you improve. So the point is that I was surrounded by people of every flavor, some better, some worse in some ways or the other. And all of us kind of pulling together to try to do better.
So let's start. At the beginning, you said your sessions, right? When you miss a session, you plan your entire day so that you do not have to miss a session. And you urge us not to tell your clients. And you're here not in a bar shirt, but in a button-down shirt. Who are your clients? What does Philip Reckord do, man?
Okay, so
and you did mention that you used to be walking and listening to music, and they have heard through the grapevine that you were very instrumental in a lot of the massive hits that came out of Barbados in the past. I know you don't like to talk about it.
No, that's putting way too much on me. But okay, for my professional career, it has meandered about, but generally in the region of what you'd call broadly IT-related stuff. I started out many decades ago as selling burglar alarm systems and making sure people had cameras and all that kind of stuff. But
that's big no though.
It's the thing, in many ways. But for me, no, I moved along and went into what was more IT related, computer related stuff eventually. And my side love, my side obsession even was music, music. It's still kind of there really. It's not really gone anywhere. But I mean, there's a little bit about bar even there. I'll explain it a bit. But the point is that my relationship with music was about loving to listen to music. But then in my teens, my dad bought me a guitar and I started playing music. So for most of my life, I've played some instrument or another, mostly bass or guitar.
Okay.
And for me, when I decided to work for myself, something like 26 years ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I started a studio, which I thought at first was going to be a recording studio, but actually became a post-production studio where I edited music, edited video as well eventually. But the main thing is that I was working in the music community as the guy who was putting things eventually on CD, and editing, doing what they call mastering now, in a modest way. I was there in a part of a community that was, we're talking the days of Splash Band, the latter days of Spice.
I told you guys, massive records.
The Crossfires, the Square Ones,
Square One is the name that I heard your name associated with.
Terry Arthur was one of my staunchest customers. I mean, he was a great guy to work with. Terry Mexican Arthur, still around, playing music, and songwriter and producer. And I spent my life in those days in a dark room out near the Garrison. That sounds really bad, but the point is that my studio was tiny. It was green, and it had computer screens everywhere, and people came in and thought, what was this guy doing? Because they'd never seen it before. Right.
Because I don't want to use the word nerd out of context. You would have been nerding out.
I was a nerd. Yeah. I wish I was a geek. I wish I was the ones that actually make money. But I was.
So that's the difference? Geeks make money, nerds don't?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I never knew that.
That's my definition, but yeah, sure.
We're going to have to put down the ticket tape down below. If it's one thing you learn from this podcast, geeks make money, nerds don't.
But yeah, I love that. And then ultimately, my life changed again when I had kids, and I thought, I don't want them growing up calling the guy next door daddy. So I retired somewhat from the music business in the fullness of it, and became more of an IT guy, looking after Macintosh, Apple computers that were in those days not very fashionable. But I was the Mac guy. I was the guy that could tell you what to do in your Mac.
And this is also back in the day when you could open a Mac.
Oh, yeah, well, you still can, but yeah, it was a little easier. Who knows, actually? I'm not sure. But, those were huge things that weighed a ton, right?
Yeah.
And I went from there to this business I'm doing now, which is not so much of the hands-on stuff as the sort of making sure people do the right thing. Plan the networks, plan the server setup, plan whether they're using cloud services, how they're using cloud services.
So you're still up to date with all of the technology? Because right now some person asked me yesterday how much RAM to put they should be ordering, and I was like, I don't know. I figured it might say about 64 now.
Well, if you have the money, sure, why not?
But another person in the group chat recommended 4 or 8, so I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, a little bit between, yeah. But the bottom line is that, that's what I do. I try to make sure people plan their businesses depending on what they do, of course. It's not the same for everybody. It's what they do. And what
they can afford.
Yeah, and what you can afford.
And what is right.
And I guess what is right.
Yeah. You also mentioned university earlier in the conversation. You would have studied IT at university then?
In those days, computer science was, I can't explain that. But the point is that there were 7 computers for 100 and something students at UE when I was there. Yeah. So it wasn't an encouraging atmosphere, honestly. So the programming stuff that would have made me the head of Facebook and wherever eBay and all those places, I never got into that.
Oh, I became C++ languages.
I did the basics of it and then realized that as much as I've done websites and all that kind of thing at different points, that was not really my thing.
What year is this would have been that you would have been doing websites already? You seem to always be slightly ahead of the curve in terms of technology.
No. I mean, when I did websites, but that would have been probably I didn't do many. I mean, I could probably count them on one hand, but it was the most interesting one was one in 3 languages for a little campaign of sorts that was being.
I mean, this is before the internet was what the internet is.
No, the internet was pretty well established because
everybody had it on the phone.
There were no phones.
Yeah, exactly.
but this would have been like late 90s.
I remember late 90s, but this is we're talking 2000s. GeoCities. We're talking
like Alta Vista.
Alta Vista, yeah.
when known Barbadian, was the creator of the
first search engine,
the search engines and that kind of thing. No, I didn't know him and wasn't even aware of that at the time, honestly. But the fact is that those were the days of the early days of the internet when my email address is still Yahoo. Confessing to the world.
I remember when I was at university, and this is going back 20 years now, you had to get an invitation to Gmail. That's how early we were.
I remember when Gmail started. Yeah,
I remember when Gmail started. Yeah, so I remember when a USB stick was 512 megabytes.
Well, the joke for me is when I bought my first computer in 1987, it came with all of 100 megabytes of storage. We're talking hard drive space. Right. In fact, I had a hard drive made it cutting edge.
Yeah, exactly. Because back then it had 2 sizes of floppy disk.
Exactly. Exactly. 2 sizes of floppy disk, and then it had maybe a meg. I'm talking about a megabyte of RAM. So
and that was cutting edge.
Cutting edge. I'm not.
I know. I'd be probably nerding out here right now on the BARcast podcast.
Let's move along.
Guys, it's brought to you by Cure. And this is what happens when George leaves 2 techie nerds that are so far removed from tech. Me personally, but just really reminiscing on the good old days of ICQ. But your name is Philip Reckord, and I came across an article recently about people whose names reflect. And I always found it interesting that your last name was Reckord, and you dealt with records.
Did recordings. Nowadays, you'd have to call me digital downloader or something.
Like digital download.
It's like records are non-existent. I still have a couple hundred of them laying around.
But I don't know anybody else named Reckord.
Yeah, mostly Jamaicans.
Are you from Jamaica?
Yeah, I'm originally from Jamaica. I came to Barbados after meandering about the Caribbean a little bit from, my early to mid-teens.
Okay.
And spent most of the last decades here. Right. I lived in Jamaica clearly up until I was 10 years old. Moved to Belize for a few years. Went back to Jamaica briefly. Came to Barbados and lived here for most of the next, until what you'd call A-levels in those days.
Right.
Went back and did the last year A-levels in Jamaica.
Right.
And then pretty much lived in Barbados since then. So
came back for university and stayed.
Ended up coming to Cave Hill. I was supposed to be going to Mona at the time and ended up coming back to Cave Hill for various reasons. But yeah, the Jamaican connection is, the records are not
it's more Jamaica,
Jamaica, but I don't know that many other
part of Caribbean. Athletic prowess from Jamaica.
my family, they're all like poets and writers types.
Right.
No athletes there. One musician. So even there, I'm a little bit weird. But
okay.
Yeah, they'll look at me strangely when I tell them I'm running 10 kilometers and things. They're like, "What for? Why?"
You are able to run 10 kilometers now?
Yeah, I did 11 yesterday morning, and that is where I will again blame BAR, as in, big up BAR. BAR has changed my life in if only
Let's
one
talk
respect.
about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your life before BAR and no. Okay. Because not after BAR, this is during BAR.
During BAR
continuing.
Stuff. Okay, well, to step back a minute, there was a big blip in my whole exercise plan because I was in a terrible car accident in 2015, and had needed a year of recovery before I could really do anything. For a bit more a year. And
I feel that your listeners want to hear more. If you're comfortable talking about it.
It's nothing. It's something I had to deal with. It's not something I had any trouble. Well, it was dramatic at the time, right?
Yeah.
But the point is that 2015, early January, we're talking 10th of January, I, brought, it was what, 1 o'clock in the morning, a guy was on the wrong side of the road out there by Sandy Lane. I'm coming along, minding my own business, not driving particularly fast, fortunately, but he was tearing along. Head-on collision.
Head-on?
Yeah, broke both legs, broke my right arm, fractured my right pelvis.
So you broke 3 of your 4 limbs?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
and your pelvis?
Fractured my pelvis. Left leg was pretty badly damaged. My right foot was crushed. My right arm was broken in 2 places.
You said one was pretty badly damaged and one was crushed.
The foot was crushed.
Both of them sound fairly well damaged.
Yeah, it's the one that haunts me, the one that keeps me. What I mean is the one that I wake up in the morning sometimes and think, this leg going to drop off,
right.
is my left leg. Because it's way better than, obviously no, because I can do anything pretty much. But the bottom line is that it was an injury that left me with metal in me and all that kind of thing.
So a terrible accident January 10th.
Yes. So we're saying 10th of January till, I can remember my coming out day was when I went walking out for the first time with a walking stick after doing walkers and crutches. Sorry, couldn't even sit up in a wheelchair at first, for a while.
How long were you in hospital?
In hospital for not that long, about 3 weeks.
3 weeks in hospital.
They put the metal in me, 7-hour operation, sent me home, a very capable surgeon.
It was never a fear that you would lose the limbs though, was there?
There were some little touch and go moments because of various things which we won't get into because they were kind of gruesome. But the catch is that the whole thing went on for like 2.5 years because it took till 2017 before I finally got an operation to take some of the metal out. But the point is that during that time, I had very little mobility. When I got out of it, I had one motivating factor, and this is a little hard. Maybe it's obvious, but the point is that I had a good friend who was, in most ways, being encouraging. Casually dropped a comment that said that they knew a doctor who said when you had an accident like this after 50, because I was just 50, that you never really recovered, and the mental thing was kind of like a bad word, this, right, or that. I had a visceral reaction to that comment, and not against the person themselves because they didn't mean it to be unkind, but in many ways it was a motivating comment. It told me that this was supposed to put me down, and without particularly emoting it at the time, I have never forgotten that feeling that I could not let this keep me down.
Right.
So the point is that the year of that and then subsequent years of slow recovery, because when I started walking at first, I'd been running before that, right?
You're going to stage from walking to speed
running.
up to running.
Yes, exactly. Yes. More running anyway. But the point is that here it was no back to zero. And walking was painful. Where I could run a mile in 10 minutes. In fact, my fastest time was literally just a week or two before that accident. At that point, when I say fastest, I mean fastest in my life, to my knowledge. I was able to do a mile in 10 minutes or a little less than 10 minutes. And it was a big deal for me. It's not, nobody's going to win the Olympics with it, but it was a big deal for me.
Your accomplishment. You come from walking too slow, according to the gentleman.
There you go, right? Yeah. And the point is that here, was back to zero, where it took me literally like an hour to cover a mile.
Wow.
Right? This was down in October of that year.
So with a cane, with a walker? Or
by then I'd thrown away the walker. Sorry, the cane. I was back to, by August I was using a cane. And I decided that if I kept the cane,
it would dependent on it.
It would be my dependency. So I decided I had to get rid of the limp that was there, right? And
so you had to strengthen the muscles.
Yes, and all that. So it took a while. But the point is that over the next few years, of swimming, by the way, I spent a lot of time the next year swimming more so than walking. Encouragement of an excellent physiotherapist who worked with me by the name of Jerry Warner, right? Jerry was, so excellent to me in so many different ways as a physiotherapist. But the point is that he encouraged me. He said, low impact exercise was best, which I for the next 2 years, lots of swimming with walking and slowly getting faster with the running, but not much running for most of that time.
Yeah.
Anyway, that went along, and back down in 2017, I had to get another operation, take some of the metal out, so that slowed me down again. And in many ways, that caused me to join the gym, because along comes the beginning of the year, and I put on some weight.
This is the beginning of 2018 now we're talking.
Yes. And my weight had, over many decades, my weight had gone up to, at one point, was about 235, 240, something like that.
I when it started thought weights, I can't really. Right? So, yeah.
Well, the point is that I felt uncomfortable. I didn't feel happy about how I was weighing. And when I started exercising, it came down a bit, but it went up again. And in 2018, when I joined the gym, I made a concerted effort to say, I'm not because I was in the gym, but prior to that, I was going to lose weight. And so over the next, actually, joined the gym I joined the gym in late in 2018 because I started losing weight in early 2018. And the point is that the gym now structured a lot of that, helped me structure the exercise part anyway. And the eating part, was something I'd learned about quite a bit during that time.
Right.
So along comes, I believe it was 2019 when I but did that walk with George, that run through the course. And I think that would be early 2019. And I'm telling you, it was like, when you have something that, what they call an epiphany or
a walk on something.
Yeah, it just changed it just suddenly changed everything for me as far as how I approached exercise. COVID was an interesting element to that as well, from the point of view that, remember I was saying that I love to play music, right? I don't mean just listen to music, but play music. COVID came along and the guys I used to jam with, your little open mic things they used to do, couldn't do them anymore. And I tell people that, why I play music is because it keeps the psychiatry bills down, right?
Right.
So the music disappeared. I mean, you can play music.
So you don't have that outlet.
You don't have that outlet. And when BAR was there now, 2019, I did BAR for the first time. I'm hoping I'm getting my years right. Yeah, 2019. June was the first BAR I did with a small team. Well, I mean, for a small team, a team.
Yeah.
And great people. I mean, it was an incredible range from me, I won the age scale, to an 18, 19-year-old young man who was the really athletic one.
Yeah.
But in between there was he and
ladies?
two ladies who.
Yeah.
I mean, the attitude in the team was incredible. Everybody
That's
was,
the most important thing. Right?
I mean, amazing thing, because it was encouraging. Everybody was encouraging everybody. We had to practice. We had to do this. We had to learn how to carry logs. We had to carry this. We had to claim that. And it was all supporting thing. And we had advice of people who would literally show up in the morning. We'd be outside the gym and they'd say, if you try this a different way, maybe it'll work better. And, we found different ways to do things and we got things done. So when we did the BAR, it's not like we even came close to, first.
Did you finish?
We finished. Well, sorry, we finished the first day. We finished the Saturday.
That's good.
And we loved it. I mean, the fact is that I was almost happy to finish the first day and not do the second, because I got to see these other teams that we became sort of friends with.
Yeah.
I mean, really go out there and kill it the next day. That was just amazing in itself. But BAR was June, and then November. I had a different team in November. 2020 came along and just kind of things changed dramatically. I didn't do BAR in November of 2020, but it was still on the.
Do you feel like 2020 was when we barely had a BAR?
Barely had a BAR. It was a difficult time. It was. I mean, I was still. Well, I had picked up the running speed a bit, because one of the things that BAR has done for me, by the way, I was starting to say this earlier, is that it has made me a runner. I mean, it's hard to explain why, because BAR is not obviously just about running. Obstacle race covers so much. OCR covers so much, right? But the fact is that BAR last year in particular, George had the sessions that we would do 3 days a week roughly. For me it was Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And the Saturday morning runs, because that's what they were.
Yeah.
Right. One Saturday morning, again, that moment when something just changes. I mean,
something clicks.
Well, one Saturday morning, here I am, the guy that had decided that year I was going to climb the rope. I was going to get the rope climbed, because I couldn't get the rope climbed. And then I had been doing miles of
walking. That was your podium for the year.
That was kind of my objective, yeah. But the point is that was almost so laughable now, because I got so much other. I did that as well, but the point is that Saturday morning, I remember I'm telling you about, is that I came there to run, and at that point I'd never run a 5K. As in, I'd never run nonstop 5K.
5K.
I had done many 5K walks, much longer, in fact. But the point is that morning I did a 7K run. Sorry, it wasn't more than 7K. It was almost 8K. It was 7. I have it in my phone. And the point wasn't how long it took, because I've never been fast, but I finished it, and it changed everything for me, because it was like, I don't know why it took me that long, but it changed. It was a moment when I realized I could do it. And by the way, when I got back to the gym, George said, "Hey, let's do a rope clinic." And that morning, for the first time, I just went right to the top of the rope, and I was like,
well, you should save the date of that one. You remember that date?
I have it in my phone.
It's
in my walk. But the point is, that was a moment when I just felt, all of a sudden things could happen. I don't know why, but it changes something for me. Yeah. So the point is that along the way, for the next several months up to BAR of November 2021. Sorry, I'm trying to remember the dates here. Right. I mean, the exercise sessions that we did, both outside the gym, because we were trying to be socially distancing and all that kind of thing. And then George planned these things that were the only things happening. We're talking about the BAR, the bar
5K.
5K trail mix.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All those things were major things for me because, again, it wasn't about being first. It was the fact that I was making the thing about the 5K was simple. I had run the 7K, I told you, back in May.
Yeah.
But when I did the 5K, then I took like about 3 minutes off my time. I mean, again, nobody's going to send me to the Olympics, but I felt really good about that.
And that was a challenging course as well.
Yeah. I was one of the few up in my age group, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the fact is that I probably was the only one in my particular age group because at 50, what was it then, 57? You know what I mean? I was older than everybody, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, it felt good to be there representing that older crew, if you want to put it like that, right? I mean, there were other people I knew from other running groups that are a little bit close. You know, there were a few people in the 50s, definitely.
Yeah.
Right, including a woman who, you know, was just a little younger than me, I believe. I don't want to swear to that. But the bottom line is that we all were trying our best and doing a thing. That's when, you know, we saw the various members of the same group that I was exercising with, many of them achieved their various accomplishments, including yourself. I mean, I think you came in top 10 and, you know, various things like that, that I think all of us were happy to see because it showed that all of us were making some headway.
Making some progress.
Yeah, yeah. So for me, that stretch was a hugely transformative time for me. And it has developed from there because, like I said, when bar was done, it was like everything just stopped. And like I said,
what do we do now?
Bar itself was never the point for me. The fact is that for me it was knowing that Tuesday afternoon I was going to be, you know, climbing ropes and doing this, and then on Thursday afternoon I was going to be up in St. John or somewhere like that, up at Peg, you know, running around Peg, loved it, right? You know, Saturday morning was joining these folks that I'd gotten very close to over that time frame to run around, you know, from the Surfside gym.
Yeah.
So I took that as what it was, and it just led me along to the next level, where for the last 6 months I've been running more. I just decided that this is what I'm going to try and achieve, increase my distances and hopefully my speed. So where before a 5K was a challenge and a 8K was an accomplishment, you know, I am now running 10 and 12Ks and it still works, but I'm getting it done.
It's a powerful testimony, Phil. So for 2022, do you have any goals lined up? Anything that you would say to yourself you want to be? You just mentioned a lot of things that you've been checking off your list.
Right. Well, one of the things I just checked off my list with the help of another group that I became associated with was the Mountain Goats. They did the Hill Challenge, and I did the Hill Challenge, which was again, it was 20K. It was longer than I think I'd ever done at that point. 21 point something.
It's 21, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, 9 hills, and that was, again, you know, a great feeling. It was painful because I started cramping, and I mean, you know, but the point is that the Mountain Goat exercises, as in the training sessions, made that possible. So I did that at the beginning of May. Right now, I'm a little bit behind for the coast to coast, which I've been kind of monitoring by social media. Because of timing, it was difficult to get into that as well at the same time.
Don't forget to register for coast to coast, guys.
I encourage people to do that. It's like, you know, I see my partners from the bar last year doing it, and I'm still feeling like, you know, I could try and do something.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, I will definitely be trying to be part of the bar events for the rest of the year. That is my intention.
Yeah, and of course the bar sessions, the training sessions, you're going to see.
I'm looking forward to them. Trust me, I intend to be there because the fact is, again, it's like they have helped me. Every moment I've done in those things has been encouraging on so many different levels.
And it's more than just a training session. Yeah, you get tired. Yeah, obviously you push yourself and everything. You feel good about pushing yourself, but then it's the camaraderie that it develops.
Absolutely. The bar energy is unreal, man. We just said it about 3 times, but the fact is that the bar energy is like a force to be reckoned with. You're with people who are every flavor. We're talking age and, you know, men and women of every walk of life. And they all
different athletic abilities.
Different athletic abilities. And all of them coming there to be what they can be, trying to be what they can be. And at the same time, you see them saying to people, hey, you know, do this, you can do it, you know, try that, you know, and you did good this time, you know, you're going good, you know.
I think what bar does, talking to you here right now, bar doesn't help people to meet their goals. It helps you to actually exceed what you thought was possible.
It helps you to aim at goals that you never thought you would aim at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, it's like, you know, carrying a bucket seems so mundane at first. You pick up the bucket and say, my God, this is heavy. And then you walk up Pothouse Hill with it the first time and you think, no, I can't do this. But I'm telling you, the times when I was able to walk up Pothouse Hill and straight up in a way that felt like, the point being that after a few weeks of doing it, and you got better at it, by the end of that first month, because George would always change it every few weeks, you suddenly realize, wait a minute, but this was something I dreaded before.
Take me back to the bucket. No.
No, it's like, this is what, you watch me pelt this bar, I'd be like, that 75-pound sandbag, I'd be picking up with it, and you're suddenly doing something, you see somebody jogging with like a 95-pound Atlas stone, and suddenly you think, maybe I can just chip along with this Atlas stone, because, it's
constantly evolving, constantly getting better.
Your goals just change. Absolutely. And for me, that is pretty much sums up how it has changed my life in a lot of ways, is that, my life in other ways goes along pretty much the same as otherwise, but fact is that this is encouragement on so many levels of, an emotional thing, right? That it affects everything.
Phil, boy, this has been a powerful conversation. I personally am inspired. I hope that you're listening or you're watching right now, you've gained some sort of inspiration. If you've never done bar before, never done the training sessions, let's take Phil's testimony. There's nothing.
I encourage, I don't try to force people into anything, because I think you have to decide you want to do something. But trust me, I would say exactly what you're saying. Consider it. Look at how it can help you with your physical goals, as in maybe you're trying to lose weight, or you're trying to just get stronger. And like, here I am talking about being a runner. I've never been a runner in my life. Yeah. Right? Honestly, I've been working with a small group of people, gonna big them up. The We Got This after bar. One of them, who was my team member in one of your bar teams. Yeah. Shannon Curtin. Shannon said, hey, got a small group. We run on Tuesday mornings. We run on Saturday mornings. And, a small group of us, we're talking sometimes it's 2, sometimes 5, 6 people. Mm-hmm. And, suddenly Derek Ince is the guy who sets the trail and says, okay, this week we're going to do 10. And next week is 12. And next week is 14. And we're like, 14?
14 sounds like a lot to me.
Well, the point is that I have done 14. Right? Up and down the hills in St. Andrews, like the most beautiful area of Barbados, by the way.
That's your best thing about the goats.
That's the thing about the goats, but even We Got This. We are running.
Y'all running in the hills.
We don't
as well.
run trails. We don't run trails so much. Not to say we never will run trails, but the point is that we do mostly roads, simply because it's not critical that we run trails. And truthfully, love the goats, love the trails. They're nothing like it, but at the same time, the roads have helped me run better, because at the same time, you're not hiking as much. Perhaps is the best way to put it. But it doesn't sum it up very well. But the bottom line is that what I've been able to do with the small group I've been able to focus more on the actual developmental stuff, the Tuesday morning drills, because we don't run distance on Tuesday mornings, we drill. We're doing how fast can you do this series of 300 meter,
Nice.
So you do end up
structure again.
Structure, yes. And that has all worked for me. And they're all bar alumni, every single one of them. Most of them at the very least. Yeah.
And who is not alumni probably going to try it at least once in their lifetime.
I don't think you can resist it.
You can't. No, when you start again, because bar, I don't want to say the pinnacle, because I don't want people to feel as though if you're not at the peak of your fitness, you cannot do bar, because it's something for everyone. And I think that's why it's important for people to hear your testimony, your story, the fact that you didn't come up as being athletic, the fact that you had your blip. And you just found the passion, and it's almost like a reason for you to.
I think that what you have to recognize with bar, and again, kudos to George, right? I'm just feeding him too much today, but the point is that we said structure already, but there's an organization about how everything develops from here to there to the other, right? And then when the events themselves come into play, whatever it is, you see that organizational thing just going so well. The fact that there's all of a sudden 2. Containers with a rope between them, and there is that rope traverse that everybody hated at first, but now all of a sudden, well, let me tell you, the rope traverse was something. When I did the first bar, I couldn't do it, and I watched people zip across. I said, I have to do the rope traverse. Yeah. And this year I did the rope traverse.
Really?
Yeah. Last year, when the last bar.
2021, yeah.
Yeah, last bar. So for me, that thing about not being able to climb up on that container the first day I ran down that Sunday, John. There I'm climbing up on the container and coming across that rope, and it's like this bizarre child thing, you can't help it but be a child at heart. As in, I think all of us have a little child in ourselves. So here we are doing these things that you watch the kids do, as in maybe not quite the same, but the point is that you're doing childlike things at whatever age. There you go, at whatever age.
Philip Reckord, I want to thank you so much for joining us this week on the Barcast podcast. This was a very motivational, it's a powerful testimony. I mean, I say testimony, that's do you come to the church of Bar? Guys,
it's like all hail Bar.
All hail Bar, all hail George. He's so wise.
It's like, we are not obsessed. We are not obsessed.
Guys, make sure and like, comment, subscribe. Join us for the next Barcast podcast. I want to thank Cure Oxygen Water once again for their continued sponsorship of the Barcast podcast. Remember, guys, go out there, train, continue to follow the page, follow the links, like us on Instagram, bar_race, follow us on Facebook as well. Get all of the information. Coast to Coast is coming, 24-hour race is coming, the Bar 5K, the Amarone Trust 5K is coming. We got the outdoor session starting soon, and Phil is going to be there with water. Yes.
I will definitely be I would be a part of them in any way, shape, or form that I can.
All right, guys, and don't forget, whatever you do, never, ever, ever stop talking about bar.
Bar life.
Bar life.
More oxygen means more energy, means more adventure. Pure Oxygen, natural spring water infused with more oxygen to improve your energy, immunity and performance. The next generation of hydration. Pure Oxygen, nature's ultimate water.